Welcome to another edition of Mark's Inspiration. Got the D-Man here, and I'm glad you could join me today on this beautiful, cold, sunny day in Missouri, USA. It was like spring a couple days ago, and yesterday it was snowing. That's just the way it is here. But today's topic is a continuation of yesterday. What to do with those toxic friends and those people who drag you down. We are on step number 6, take action and reassess. Once you decide on how you're going to deal with a friendship that has become toxic, that's the buzzword now, toxic. We used to just call it a bad relationship or a bad friend. We got a word for everything. Toxic, trauma. Trauma's a popular word. Seems like everybody's got a trauma. Well, that's a whole other video. We'll go on to something else. The next part is the toughest part. You actually have to follow through on it once you decide to take action. Remember this important fact though. Often the most manipulative of our friends, the ones most likely to be resistant to us changing, are also the most charismatic. That means that when they get a whiff of what's going on, they might instinctively change their behavior in response, and it can be a seductive ploy. I have experienced that myself, usually with my significant other, a woman. Friendships can sometimes resemble emotionally abusive relationships. We used to just call emotionally abusive a person who was a jerk, okay? We have a name for everything nowadays, don't we? Emotionally abusive relationships where as soon as the victim tries to pull away, the abuser changes their act. It's just normal human behavior, only to slip right back into the old routine once the distance is closed again. Sometimes they do this on purpose, and sometimes they just have no control over their emotional behavior. And sometimes they're just being human beings. Human beings tend to do that. They don't appreciate what they have, and when they start to lose it, they realize that they have something. So they do what they have to do to try to get it back, and once they get it back, they become complacent again and start, in the case of relationships, mistreating people or mistreating you and not really appreciating what they have. Everything seems more valuable when you are losing it or you have lost it. But once you get it back, it's not that important to you. Think about the ring you have on your hand, if you have one, or the bracelet, or something that's important to you. You may go day by day and every day and never even think about it, never even give it a thought. But misplace it or lose it, or if someone steals it from you, all of a sudden the value skyrockets. And you do everything you can do to get that back or to find it or to try to find out who took it. So think about that. We do the same thing with relationships. We take them for granted. And the only way you can avoid that is to realize that you do it and try to show appreciation consciously. Not have it thrown upon you by whatever you have being taken away from you. Okay. Keeping in mind what I mentioned about manipulators, it's ultimately up to you to decide whether their change of heart is genuine effort or not. If you've only decided to reposition your friendship or even have a discussion with the friend to see if you can make changes that way, this will also require some reassessment to see if it worked. You'll most likely be immediately aware if it doesn't. But just keep your eye on the situation, realizing that if things don't get better, you might have to pull the plug completely. Sounds like a lot of work to me, but if they were a good friend, it may be worth it, and maybe not. Sometimes people just part ways. I've had many good friends through the years, and maybe they moved away or we just went our different ways, and that's the way things go sometimes. Letting go is sometimes just part of life. Moving on. And step number seven is letting go. Let's see what he has to say. I mentioned a few times in this article about having a discussion, But I don't want to give the wrong impression. Confrontation and criticism are often the worst ways you can deal with walking away from a friendship. Even if you decide your life is better off without a particular poisonous relationship, does that decision really necessitate some type of awkward and confrontational breakup? I say usually it doesn't. In the vast majority of cases, I would say no. This isn't a romantic relationship here, and you have no obligations to each other. Friendships end all the time just by simply drifting away. I think I mentioned that earlier. Yes, they do. Walking away from a friendship when done right should be barely noticed. If you've changed enough to be seriously considering a friendship breakup, then chances are your friendship is only held together by old habits and familiarity. If you let those go, you'll often find the friendship dissolving naturally. There's no reason you can't keep things civil. Who knows, maybe someday down the road you'll reconnect as two different yet very familiar people. Of course, there will be cases where your decision meets with particularly desperate resistance, and you may have to be a little less tactful if that friend really is someone that needs to go. But well, that's just how life goes sometimes. And yes, it is. As I said earlier, sometimes we just go our separate ways. And most of the time, it doesn't have to be a big dramatic breakup or break off. Unfortunately, in romantic relationships, many times it is because usually one of the people doesn't want to break up or go another direction. One wants to stay in a relationship, the other one wants to go. That makes it difficult for one of the two parties. The evolution of friendships. None of this is easy, and I don't want to pretend I have all the answers to the chaotic language or chaotic landscape of human relationships. In a perfect world, all of your friends would see the great things happening in your life and hop right on board. Not only happy to see you doing so well, but eager to follow down the same path. Unfortunately, that's not how it usually works. Many people go through life without ever finding the strength to live up to their life ideals. And that means that evolving and the path to self-improvement is often a solitary, even lonely process. It's lonely at the top, as they say. Don't let it get you down too much, though. Remember that every time one door closes, another opens. As you become someone just a bit different, you'll meet new people who bring exciting new possibilities into your life. Not only that, but you'll quickly find out who your true friends are, the ones that really will be there until the end. It's a painful process, but sometimes well worth the effort. And don't be surprised if someday a relationship you once let go comes back around full circle as your old friend does a bit of growing up on their own. Ah, the tangled webs we weave. And this was by the man Quincy Seal. Very interesting article and very informative and true, I find. It's very difficult to break away from the old. As I said in one of the previous videos, you have to take your foot off the beach to reach distant shores. And that's very frightening for some people. And they don't want to see you leave their beach either. Many people want success, or they want a different life, or they want different friends, or they want something different, something better, something greater. But most people are afraid to leave what they know. They may not be happy with what they know. They may be very unhappy with what they know, but they're comfortable with it. How many times are people in an abusive relationship, emotionally or physically, that doesn't work, but yet they stay there? It's because they're more afraid of what they don't know than what they do know. They know how this relationship is. Even though they don't like it, they have no idea what it will be like if they leave. The unknown. The unknown. That is what scares people about death. They don't know what's going to happen. Yes, they've read religious texts that tells them what's going to happen, but they're not really sure. That's why there's fear. Fear is going to be between you and everything you desire, whether it be a new friendship, a new romantic relationship, letting go of the old romantic relationship, getting a new job, changing your profession, whatever it happens to be. You're going to face fear every day. You just as well make friends with it. When you notice you're afraid of something, face that fear, confront it. You'll find out that it's really just a bogeyman that has no power. It's nothing. It's something you've made up in your mind. They say we're only born with two fears, the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. All the other ones we have learned, or we have been programmed with by people meaning well, by our parents, by friends, by society, by the media. Take insurance, for example. Insurance makes millions, even billions of dollars, insurance companies do, on the fact that more than likely whatever you're being insured against will never happen. The percentages are in your favor that it will never happen, but yet they make you feel like you are very irresponsible if you don't have insurance. Now, I'm not saying insurance isn't a good idea. I have liability insurance on my business, I have car insurance, I have home insurance. But many of these things you are required to have by law, so you have to have those. But there are many other forms of insurance that you don't really need to have, but your fear causes you to buy them. That's where trust comes in, trusting that everything will work out for you. I don't have health insurance. Some people think, oh, you're crazy. Last time I had a problem, I broke my shoulder, I just paid cash for it. Now you may say, well, not everybody can do that. Well, let me see. I've had about once or twice in my life I had to go to the hospital. It was no big deal. Okay? If everybody that had insurance went to the hospital or got hurt, as far as health insurance goes, the insurance companies would be broke. But they're not. They make billions of dollars on insurance. So think about that. Most people never use it. They would have you think that everybody gets sick and has trouble and is in the hospital or whatever before they die. And guess what? Some people just die. Most people do. They don't get sick and have a long illness before they die. If they did, the insurance companies would be broke. But that's the logic of it. The fear is what sells the insurance. The unknown, the maybes, the what ifs. What if you just have a wonderful life and one day you go to bed and you don't wake up? My grandpa did. Many people do that. Sometimes you just fall over dead. So, it's just a thought. If you feel better about insurance, get insurance. Like I said, I have some insurance. I believe in it. I'm just saying that sometimes we need to trust that things will just work out. Instead of thinking we can control everything with insurance and all these other avenues of protection and these constructs that we've come up with as human beings. That's all we got for today. Thanks for joining me, and we will be on a different topic tomorrow. Smash that like button. Have a great day.